Public grief, confession, and a difficult community decision bring the Book of Ezra to a sobering conclusion in Ezra chapter 10. After Ezra's prayer exposed the seriousness of Israel's unfaithfulness, a large crowd now gathers around him in Jerusalem, and the returned exiles must decide how they will respond to a problem that has already reached into families, the priesthood, and the leadership of the community. While Ezra was praying, confessing, weeping, and throwing himself down before the house of God, men, women, and children gathered around him. The people also wept bitterly. Then Shecaniah son of Jehiel, one of the descendants of Elam, spoke to Ezra. He acknowledged that the people had been unfaithful to God by marrying foreign women from the surrounding peoples. Yet Shecaniah believed there was still hope for Israel. He proposed that the community make a covenant before God and deal with these marriages according to the law and the counsel of those who respected God's commands. Then he encouraged Ezra to act. Ezra rose and required the leading priests, Levites, and all Israel to swear that they would follow the proposed course of action. They took the oath, but Ezra's grief was not finished. He withdrew from the front of the house of God and entered the room of Jehohanan son of Eliashib. There he refused food and water because he continued mourning over the unfaithfulness of the returned exiles. A proclamation was then issued throughout Judah and Jerusalem. All those who had returned from exile were ordered to assemble in Jerusalem within 3 days. Anyone who failed to appear risked losing their property and being excluded from the community of the exiles. So the people came. On the 20th day of the 9th month, all the men of Judah and Benjamin gathered in Jerusalem in the square before the house of God. They sat trembling because of the seriousness of the situation and because of the heavy rain. Ezra stood before them and confronted the issue directly. He told the people that they had been unfaithful by marrying foreign women, adding to Israel's guilt. He called them to confess before the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and to separate themselves from the surrounding peoples and from these marriages. The assembly responded that Ezra was right and that they must do what had been said. But there was a practical problem. The crowd was large, the rainy season made remaining outside difficult, and the matter could not be resolved in a day or two because many people were involved. Instead, they proposed an organized investigation. Officials would represent the entire assembly, while those involved would appear at appointed times with the elders and judges of their towns until the matter had been addressed. Not everyone agreed with the procedure. Jonathan son of Asahel and Josiah son of Tikvah opposed it, while Meshullam and Shabbathai the Levite supported them. Nevertheless, the returned exiles proceeded with the investigation. Ezra the priest selected family heads by name, and on the first day of the 10th month they began examining the cases. By the first day of the first month, the investigation had been completed. The remainder of Ezra 10 records the men found to have married foreign women. The list begins with priests, including descendants of Jeshua, son of Jozadak, and continues through Levites, singers, gatekeepers, and other Israelites. The chapter ends with the acknowledgement that these men had married foreign women, and some of those marriages had produced children. It is a difficult ending. There is no great celebration like the dedication of the temple in Ezra 6. Instead, the book closes with the painful consequences of decisions the community believed threatened its renewed covenant faithfulness. It is also important to read the chapter carefully. The concern running through Ezra 9 and 10 is not presented simply as hostility toward people because they came from other nations. The Old Testament itself includes foreigners who became faithful members of Israel's community. Ezra's crisis centers on covenant unfaithfulness and the danger of the restored community returning to practices from which they had been called away. That makes the practical takeaway challenging, but important. Restoration sometimes requires confronting problems that rebuilding alone cannot fix. The temple had been restored, sacrifices had returned, and the people were living again in Judah. Yet outward restoration could not substitute for inward faithfulness. Ezra's story, therefore, leaves us with a question worth considering. When we receive an opportunity to begin again, are we willing not only to rebuild what was lost, but also to address the choices that could take us backwards? The Book of Ezra ends here, But the story of Jerusalem's restoration continues. In the Book of Nehemiah, news will reach a Jewish official serving in the Persian royal court that Jerusalem's walls remain broken and its gates burned. His response will begin another remarkable chapter in the rebuilding of the city.